I have played World of Warcraft for 9 years. I've leveled up every class to 100 and then some, and I've done pretty much everything there is to do in the game. And my biggest regret is that I've never actually read the quest text. Sure, I've seen all the cinematics, I've even read a few books. I know most of the story, but I've missed out on the most important story of them all. My own journey. The hero's journey in World of Warcraft. So I've taken it upon myself to play through every single zone and do every single quest and read every bit of quest text and then some. And then I'm going to do my best to share everything I've learned with you, just in case you might have missed out on the story too. So be warned, this video is going to contain massive spoilers. Now, let today's journey begin. Your first stop in Silverpine is at the Forsaken High Command, where you find Lady Sylvanas alongside Grand Executor Mortis. Across from them are the Valkyr, flying over a neatly arranged pile of dead corpses. It seems you've arrived just in time for a meeting between Lady Sylvanas and War Chief Garrosh Hellscream.
This better be important, Sylvanas. You know how I detest this place and its foul stench. Why have you called for me? And more importantly, what are those scourge fiends doing here?
War Chief, so glad you could make it. With the death of the Lich King, many of the more intelligent scourge became unemployed. Those fiends, as you so delicately put it, are called Valkyr. They are under my command now. And they are part of the reason that I asked to see you.
Get on with it, Sylvanas!
Very well, War Chief. I have solved the plight of the Forsaken. As a race, we Forsaken are unable to procreate. With the aid of the Valkyr, we are now able to take the corpses of the fallen and create new Forsaken. Agatha, show the War Chief.
What you have done here, Sylvanas, it goes against the laws of nature. Disgusting is the only word I have to describe it.
War Chief, without these new Forsaken, my people would die out. Our hold upon Gilneas and Northern Lordaeron would crumble.
Have you given any thought to what this means, Sylvanas? What difference is there between you and the Lich King now?
Isn't it obvious, War Chief? I serve the Horde.
Watch your clever mouth, bitch! Romosh, you stay behind and make sure the Banshee Queen is well guarded. I will be expecting a full report when next we meet. Remember, Sylvanas, eventually, we all have to stand before our Maker and face judgment. Your day may come sooner than others.
The Forsaken have become experts at biological warfare, as you learned in Tristfall. But after the events of the Wrathgate, regulations have been made, and the new Blight will need some modifications. Doomweed is easy enough, but clean animal entrails are another story. Most of the animals in Silverpine are becoming corrupted, and are beginning to decay. But once you've assisted with the modifications, you are sent to test out the new concoction on some unsuspecting Murlocs nearby. This new Blight might come in handy in the ongoing war between the Forsaken and the Gilneans. Even though the Forsaken seem to have the upper hand, for now, a small group of rebels have escaped and have rallied in Silverpine. Deathstalker Yorick was sent on a scouting mission 3 days ago and hasn't returned. You are given the task of rescuing her. You find her hiding in an outhouse just outside the Ivar cottage. She's learned that Darius Crowley, leader of the Gilneas Liberation Front, has been meeting with someone inside the cottage. You quickly accompany her inside and hide out, hoping to eavesdrop on their next meeting. Crowley shows up along with Ivar Bloodfang. He plans to recruit Ivar, who happens to be the alpha male in the region. If Ivar joins the Gilneans, then the rest of the Feral Worgen in Silverpine will as well. Ivar is reluctant at first, held back by his grudge against the Gilneans, but he eventually agrees out of necessity. They must unite against the Forsaken. But just as they reach an agreement, Ivar's Worgen senses kick in, and he sniffs out a spy. Yorick is pulled from the wardrobe and viciously murdered right in front of you. Fortunately, you manage to remain undetected, able to return safely and report everything that you've learned. With the Worgen army growing exponentially, the Forsaken call for reinforcements of their own. 3 orc fleets sailed from Kalimdor but haven't reported in. You are sent to find out what's happened. As it turns out, the fleet arrived on the shores completely drunk, making it easy for a small pack of Worgen to take them out. You are sent to cover this embarrassment and recover the stolen supplies. But one of the ships never actually made it to shore. Those who did make it off the boat were killed or captured by the Skitterweb spiders. You're sent off to rescue the survivors and eliminate the pests, specifically the matriarch, who is hiding out inside the den. Now that you've reinforced the reinforcements, your next destination is Fenris Isle. Human refugees from Hillsbrad are holed up there, and you are sent to slaughter them all. Agatha will accompany you in order to raise up the victims to serve the Forsaken. You fight your way to the keep, planning to take out the magistrate, but as you enter the keep, you are greeted with Worgen sentries. What are Worgen doing here? You make your way to the top of the keep, but it seems that Crowley and Ivar have already beaten you to the punch. He gives the magistrate a choice: drink his blood and become Worgen, or be slain and raised as undead. They decide that becoming Worgen is the lesser of the two evils, and they are all transformed right before your eyes. Agatha snatches you up, allowing you to narrowly escape death for the second time. She returns you safely to Sylvanas, who you then accompany to the Sepulchre. Along the way, she tells you her story.
I have not always been the Banshee Queen. And my people have not always been the Forsaken. Long ago, this land comprised the northern kingdoms of Lordaeron, ruled by King Terenas Menethil. Terenas had a son named Arthas. Arthas. Even saying his name makes my body quiver in rage. This man-child, Arthas, took for himself a cursed blade known as Frostmourne. Through Frostmourne, Arthas killed his own father and raised this land along with every living creature in it. My own death came at the hands of Arthas when he and his armies sacked my homeland, Quel'Thalas, and murdered my people. In his vast cruelty, Arthas severed my spirit from my body and raised me as a banshee to serve in his Scourge army. A similar fate befell all that would die to the Scourge war machine. In death, they were reborn as mindless undead, but Arthas was not invincible. With each passing day, his power waned, his grip over the will of the damned loosening. It was when Arthas was at his weakest that I struck. And though the hour of his atonement had come, the worm managed to escape his fate, returning to the frozen wastes of Northrend. With Arthas gone, so too was the control he held over the undead masses of Lordaeron. After recovering my body, I freed the remaining Scourge that were left behind. From the cruelty and mercilessness of Arthas, the man who would be Lich King, the Forsaken were born. Our goal, our sole purpose, was to destroy the Lich King. We threw our lot in with the Horde and began our journey towards redemption. Now, the Lich King is dead, and we have returned. The people who called this land their home in life do so in death as well. But the Alliance does not recognize our rights. They claim this land as their own while attempting to invalidate the claims of the founders of this kingdom. I will never allow it. Never! Lordaeron belongs to the Forsaken, always and forever.
Sylvanas learns that a Forsaken convoy was ambushed by Bloodfang's pack. Everything and everyone was destroyed. She asks you to honor the fallen Forsaken by collecting their insignias. It seems that even in undeath, the Dark Lady still has a sense of honor. But the Forsaken aren't the only ones having a bad time. Those worthless drunken Orc fleet reinforcements have already got their butts kicked, so it's once again up to you to save them. You'll need to resuscitate them by pouring beer down their throats, because why not? It turns out that the Worgen who attacked the fleet were just a scouting party. The rest are on their way. Crowley must have made the blood offering to every single human on Fenris Isle, and now hundreds of Worgen are crossing the lake in your direction. You're going to have to fight them off and thin out their ranks. You eventually make your way to where the convoy was attacked, and you realize that you're not alone. The Worgen ambushers have stayed behind for some reason, but you still have a job to do. So you collect the insignias belonging to your fallen comrades, fighting off any ambushers who would dare attack you. Nearby, you are ambushed by Caretaker Smithers. After dealing with him, you find his logbook. The logbook indicates that a meeting was arranged with Bloodfang in the Elam mine. If you act quickly, you might be able to catch him. So you rendezvous with Master Fortescue and his men outside the mine. With Bloodfang inside and you blocking the only entrance, you now have him cornered. So you enter the mine together with the other Forsaken to deal with him once and for all. But as you go deeper into the mine, you realize that there's no meeting, no Bloodfang, or any other Worgen for that matter. You only find kegs of dynamite. And realizing that his end is near, Fortescue calls for your retreat, allowing you to narrowly escape death once again. Unfortunately, Fortescue and his men aren't so lucky. This infuriates Sylvanas as she realizes that Crowley has been one step ahead of her this whole time. The Dark Lady is done underestimating the Worgen and is ready to take the offensive, so she sends you directly to Gilneas to assist with the ongoing battle on the front lines. You are sent behind enemy lines to check on the Forsaken outposts that have lost communication. Going behind enemy lines is extremely dangerous. This is one mission that you're not expected to return from. You discover that both Dreadwatch Outpost and Rutsack's guard have been completely wiped out, but you manage to find Captain Rutsack still alive. Rutsack's men were ambushed by Stormwind reinforcements, the 7th Legion. Only Rutsack himself was spared to tell the story. Rutsack watched as his men were slaughtered before his eyes, and then the 7th Legion commander stood in Rutsack's face and said, "The name's Master Sergeant Pietro Zerim, officer in the 7th Legion. When you see your soldiers slaughtered in your nightmares, if you even still dream, remember my name and tremble." Unfortunately for the Master Sergeant, his name was not forgotten, and you take vengeance on him and his men. Looting his corpse, you discover his orders, which inform that an Alliance armada is en route, and while you are away, forward command is being overrun by Worgen. You look on through a nearby telescope and discover an Alliance submarine that must have slipped by undetected and has now destroyed the Horde blockade, allowing for even more Alliance reinforcements to pass through. The Forsaken forward command is lost, and it seems the Worgen now have the upper hand. But Belmont and Arthura, the Valkyr who originally accompanied you, have fled, and you meet up with them at Emberstone Village. Belmont tells you of a Gilnean lord named Vincent Godfrey, who was one of the first to rise up against the Worgen curse. But when Godfrey learned that King Greymane was afflicted, he took his own life, because he would rather be dead than serve the creatures he had defended his home against. So you make your way to the southern end of Gilneas, where you find Godfrey's corpse, just off the shore. You've done all you can in Gilneas for now, and you are sent back to Sylvanas in Silverpine. You look on as Godfrey and his lieutenants are raised as undead to serve the Banshee Queen. As Godfrey puts it, better undead than Worgen. While Sylvanas and Godfrey make plans for a final assault, you are sent to deal with the people of Ambermill, the last human blight in Silverpine. The Dalaran Magi who reside there have placed a barrier around the city, allowing them to hide out in a separate dimension awaiting their next orders from the Alliance. If you're going to take the city, you'll have to find a way to bring that barrier down. The humans might be hiding out in the separate dimension, but they've left behind a population of elemental servitors to guard the city. You fight your way through and eventually reach the town hall, where you find a codex. The codex might give some clues on how to bust up the barrier, but the only person who would know anything is Delard Dawnweaver, former Archmage of the Kirin Tor, now fully undead and fully loyal to the Forsaken. Delar is more than happy to help, but the codex is magically locked, and the only way to unlock it is with a signet ring belonging to a Dalaran Archmage. He doesn't have his anymore, but he knows where you can find one, so he sends you through a portal to the ruins of Dalaran to find Relios, who will be more than happy to give you his, after you kill him. Delar figures that since you're already there, you might as well carry out some vengeance for him by killing as many Dalaran citizens as you can find. But he's a bit disappointed to find that such vengeance provides no satisfaction. He also failed to mention that Relios was once his pupil, and was quite the accomplished mage. Nevertheless, he returned the ring, allowing Delar to unlock the codex, which reveals the ring's second power, allowing the one who wears it to pass through the dimension where the Ambermill citizens are holding out. In order to destroy the barrier, you'll have to pass through the dimensional gateway, fight your way through an army of magi, and take out the Archmage that is generating it from the inside. No problem. With the barrier down, the pocket dimension is gone, and the citizens of Ambermill are destroyed, and raised again in undeath. You join up with Godfrey and his men to deal with Pyrewood Village, which has been overtaken by the Alliance. Together, you are instructed to fight off the enemy forces, rescue captured allies, and torch the town. A fairly straightforward mission, but the more time you spend with Godfrey and his men, the more you realize how exceptionally cruel they are, even as Forsaken. They seem to have no sense of honor, and even attack some of the captured allies you were sent to rescue. But with Pyrewood dealt with, you are sent to handle the rest of the 7th Legion at their base camp nearby. Taking out their general should do the trick. While you're there, you discover the 7th Legion's battle plan, which shows the location of the Gilneas Liberation Front's camp, where Lorna Crowley, daughter of Darius Crowley, is posted. Sylvanas plans to use Lorna to force Crowley to surrender, so you accompany her to meet with Crowley and Ivar in midfield. Upon realizing that his daughter has been captured, Crowley stands down without hesitation, and Ivar flees in disgust. Sylvanas honors her agreement and releases Lorna as the Gilneans retreat from the battlefield. All-out war is prevented, and the Forsaken have won the day. But before Sylvanas can give her victory speech, Godfrey assassinates her. While everyone is stunned by Godfrey's betrayal, he sets his sights on Warlord Cromush. But together, you are able to fight off Godfrey and his men as they flee. Sylvanas lies before you, dead, and the only way to bring her back is for the Valkyr to sacrifice themselves, which they do in honor of their agreement with the Dark Lady. Sylvanas swears to make Godfrey pay for his betrayal, but for now, she will have to return to the Undercity to recuperate. With all imminent threats to Lordaeron dealt with, she sends you in her stead east to assist the Forsaken campaign in Hillsbrad. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that like button. And if you found it informative, perhaps you'd like to inform your friends by sharing it with them. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see future videos on this channel. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful day, this is TheKephas, until next time.